What's up, crew? If you are tired of chasing clients for your agency, what if I told you that there is a way to have clients come to you pre-sold on your expertise? In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a content funnel. It's the exact same funnel that we use. We call it the Authority Flywheel, and it attracts high-paying clients effortlessly, at least with way less effort than all of the other things that I've tried. This is the exact same process that gets me clients and members that range from $6,000 to $18,000 each and every month. If you're new here, my name is Greg Hickman. I'm the founder of Alt Agency, and over the past decade, I've helped hundreds of agency owners implement a similar system that brings their ideal buyers to them each and every month. So today, I'm going to show you the key components of this Authority Flywheel. It's a kind of a content-based marketing funnel that has consistently delivered results for myself and our clients. All of our best years in business, the funnel, meaning kind of our pathway to get us ready to buy people, was always simple. And every time I got caught up in scaling or, the latest and greatest trend that someone was talking about, I felt like I had to go pursue it and I had to go chase it. And doing that only ever made our marketing efforts more complex. It required more team, more experts, more contractors, more software, and it always resulted in me just spreading myself too thin. So I'm not sure if that's what you feel right now, but it led me to just creating content and doing certain things for content's sake or marketing's sake. It was always when our content was very, very intentional and our pathway from stranger to prospect to client was fairly simple and, again, had a lot of intent and value speaking to those people directly. Every great month of sales was really because of a simpler strategy. And that's what I want to share with you today, because having worked now with hundreds of founders like yourself, they don't always have the time to be like full-time creators and do all of these things or sign up for all of these tools, nor having to spend all of the money on the different experts and technology just to make it happen. What I want to talk about are kind of like the key pieces of our marketing funnel that, again, bring us clients that range from $6,000 to $18,000 plus each and every month. So first and foremost, the premise behind this funnel is based off of the knowledge and data that supports this for us and our clients, and I think buyers today, that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And one of the best ways to create trust and authority in your marketplace is to demonstrate your expertise, which is why content works really, really well. So if you're not demonstrating your expertise, that's likely a reason why you're not getting people coming to you. Instead of having to do cold outbound, which I don't really like doing, I'd rather be creating content that attracts my ideal prospect, gets them into my world, and use warm outbound and or even just deeper content that makes them move closer and closer to a buying decision. The flywheel really consists of a few key pieces. The first piece is one main social channel, one main social platform. So for me, I prefer LinkedIn. On that channel, you're going to be creating a lot more short form content. So I'm going to say short form content. A LinkedIn post can't be so long that you're going into crazy depth. So I still look at something on LinkedIn as relatively short form content. The next piece of the flywheel is long form content. Now, for myself on this, I actually use YouTube. Videos like this allow me to go much deeper with my ideal prospects. Now, are people going to be watching this video and automatically buying? Probably not. But usually when designed correctly, like most of my videos, it will lead you on to the next video and you start to binge. As we know, bingers are buyers. But now we have this combination of short form that points to long form, and our long form is where a lot of the conversion starts to happen. So conversion into, in our world, booked appointments, and also into the other piece of the flywheel, which is email. And so email is where you get to continue that conversation, okay? Now, as this wheel starts to spin, right? As short form points to long form turns people into your email list, that flywheel starts to spin faster. What does it end up doing? It puts people into your conversion vehicle. And so for us, that is a consultation. Most of the time we're selling from a call. We have a 2-call process, kind of a discovery into a demo. Sometimes we sell via a Google Doc, especially when we're launching new things. But right now our content is pointing people into a conversation. So these things work together to really attract, engage, and then convert our prospects. So the short form content brings people in. The long form content actually lets us go deep, and the email lets the conversation keep going. And usually inside of our email, we're pointing to our long form content. So our email points to long form content and or makes offers to book a call. So a lot of the conversion into our email list happens from long form, and a lot of our conversion from our email takes us to a call. Now, we definitely do have on certain videos calls to action that will, because it's deep enough and has the right intention for the viewer, will also book calls. And so we have a steady flow of organic leads and appointments happening each and every month just by focusing on short form content that bring people in, long form content allows us to go deeper, and the email that keeps us staying in touch. So if you're creating content and you're finding that it's not leading to leads and or appointments, or you're seeing that the wrong types of prospects are engaging, then you have to look at, well, what type of content? And so you may or may not have heard of, the different stages of awareness, but you have to understand that there's some content that is more top of funnel, some content that is more middle of funnel, and some content that is more bottom of funnel. Now, really what that means is there's a certain percentage of your audience that are unaware. The next level of awareness is problem aware. And the next after that is solution aware. Then you have product aware, meaning they actually know what your product is. And then you have most aware. Now, these 5 stages of awareness are from Eugene Schwartz in his book, Breakthrough Advertising. So this is not something that's new, but you have to understand that typically people that are at the top of funnel, which is probably a majority of the people in the audience, are actually unaware. They don't even know they have a problem yet. A lot of your short form content, it can be really helpful if your short form content is hitting on and talking to the problem aware people and your solution aware people. That can then advance them into content that speaks to the product aware people. The reason why, if you're only producing short form content and you're not getting results, is because it's really difficult in short form content to take a prospect and move them from problem aware to most aware, which is why having long form content is critical. I can have a 25-minute long video or a 45-minute long video on YouTube that someone who doesn't really know about me yet won't watch because they just got into my world. They're going to be consuming a lot of short form content. But if you've been in my world for a long time, you might have watched a lot of my YouTube videos or watched longer or most of my YouTube videos on topics that are relevant for you. Well, in a 12-minute to 45+ minute long video where I'm going deep, I can actually take you from problem aware to most aware in one video or one piece of long form content. Again, why, if you're only doing short, you need long, but short helps get people to your long. So you kind of need both, right? Now, again, I focus on LinkedIn primarily for my short form. And you'll see if you go on my LinkedIn profile, I'm always pointing back to using snippets from the longer form videos. And I point back to my YouTube channel and I point back to long form. So there's actually 2 types of long form content that I actually like to focus on. One is really just my YouTube channel, but you want a long form piece of content that lets your ideal buyer know how you can help them. In a video that I've linked up in the description, it's an hour-long video breaking down our entire alt agency business model, which is what we help a lot of our clients create, right? Alternative agency where they get paid for their expertise, not for their labor. If someone watches that video, that is a very conversion-oriented video. You can have a short-form version of that, like what you've probably heard of, like a webinar or a VSL, video sales letter. That could be like 12 to, I'll say, under 30-minute long video that really is about your process. And this would be your VSL. So as you are defining your unique way of doing things, there's probably 1 or 2 pieces of like pillar content that you would love to drive everyone to. That's going to be that kind of pillar piece of content, that video sales letter that's basically saying, hey, if you are this person and you need this, this is probably what you're struggling with, and we help you do XYZ, here's how. Go ahead and book a call. A service provider like yourself should have a video like that. So that video works for you 24/7, especially if your social content points to the long form. That's one of those videos. If in the link to your YouTube videos, every single long form video has a link back to that VSL, you're creating this flywheel of binging and consumption, which brings me to a key point that I want to talk about, which we call expertise exposure. There is a Google trend, but it's called the 7-11-4 rule. And basically what it says is people will need to consume at least 7 hours of content across 11 different touch points and have 4 different platforms, which means people are consuming a lot of information before they make a buying decision. And so people are showing up to your sales call and they kind of already know if they're going to buy from you. And this is basically expertise exposure, meaning if this is time, the longer someone spends watching my content, the more likely they are to trust me and want to potentially work with me. Now, it's not just about how much time they watch, it's also about how deep they go. So this is about depth. This is why exposure is about time and depth. So the more content that you consume of mine and the more depth to which you go into all of my content, like if you've watched this whole 20 some odd minute video, however long it is, but you've watched 40 of them, you're way more likely to become a buyer of mine at some point and for us to work together because you've just had so much expertise exposure. So we find, and we hear it on our sales calls all the time, that you don't need to tell me what it is. I already know. I've been binge watching your content for the last 6 months. Like if the words "I've been binge watching your content" is coming out of like your prospect's mouth, there's a good chance that they're going to become a buyer in your world. And so one other piece to this flywheel is like, how do we make this work for us all the time? So without having to always create tons of pillar content. Well, for us, how we do that is for every piece of pillar content, let's say this video is 60 minutes. I cover a bunch of little topics that I cover in that 60-minute video that I can make a bunch of other videos about. So what I'm talking about right now is actually one piece of a larger puzzle that I talk about in another video that you can link up in the description below. And so I'm not having to come up with tons of content, but the video that I'm doing on, this flywheel right now, getting a little meta, points back to this pillar piece of content. That pillar piece of content points to a guide, which gets people on our email list, which gets people to our calls. So I have 3 or 4 more videos. If you look at some of my other videos around this channel, a lot of them you'll notice are starting to point back to this piece of pillar content or another piece of pillar content that I've pointed you to. And sometimes they'll even point this way, right? And what is that doing? If you've ever seen a YouTube channel where they say, oh, and if now you have questions about this, go watch this video, they're helping facilitate that expertise exposure. So that's really what we're doing here. So like, again, if you look at our channel, all of these concepts can all be point back to certain pieces of pillar content. In that pillar content, there's calls to action to either download something or book a call. Now, the next piece of this puzzle is to accelerate that with paid ads. So once you have this flywheel spinning because your organic content is working, we can use ads to grow our channel. We can use ads to drive more traffic to those lead magnets, to retarget people, and also to then retarget and invite the most aware people, the people that have been consuming a lot of it, to book a call, which really starts to gain a lot of efficiency. As all of these videos are pointing to each other, the short points to the long points back to the pillar is where we capture the conversion. Every time I add to this ecosystem, it's not even a funnel really, it's an ecosystem, it all starts to feed you guys more value and give you that expertise exposure, which will lead to you becoming a client. And so what I've found, again, the short form into long form into email is the simplest way that when we focus on those 3 keys of our puzzle, we are constantly creating new attention, demonstrating our authority, letting people go deep, and having conversations and keeping that conversation going while they're still in our world, consuming more and more of our long form content to become a buyer. So if you want your sales to be simpler, creating a flywheel like this is really going to help, because the whole point of marketing, in my opinion, is to do most of the selling before you ever hop on a sales call. So when it comes to converting demand, you really want to have a long form piece of content, invite people to the next piece of your sales process, which again, for us is a sales conversation. Now, like I teased earlier, this flywheel is really about having a high converting offer, right? All of this content needs to be high intent meant to point to something that aligns with what we talk about. So if you actually need help designing a high converting offer so that we can help you launch this Authority Flywheel, then check out the link in the description. You can chat and see if there's a mutual fit. But the Authority Flywheel is really just one component of how we've been able to scale our profits with a small, lean and mean team. And so if you'd like to learn about the whole system, I recommend you check out our in-depth case study and my deep dive video in this video.